Welcome to Nacht Waffen Pilot. And today my guest is Brad Olsen. He's an explorer, a writer, and occasional guest on various shows that you're all familiar with. And I'm really honored to have him. And I understand he's only going to be with us for the first hour of the show. So, Brad, you you want to talk about your recent trip to Antarctica?
Yeah, sure. Wow, that was the quickest introduction I think I've ever had. But hey, cut to the chase.
I did
Great to
that.
speak with you. You know how much admiration I have for your work and the
Yes, I
times
do.
we met at conferences. I just uh, talked together about secret space program and so many other things. You've been a great influence, and so I'm really happy to be on your show today. And yeah, let's get right into it. So, to give your listeners a little background, I'm author of what will soon be 10 books. My next book, called Beyond Esoteric, Escaping Prison Planet, is coming out in this year, in about 2 months. And it's very exciting because this book will have the third and final in my Esoteric series. Will have all of my Antarctica information, as well as the black goo and other things that people have seen in my presentations and wondering why I've never put. So this is where it's going to appear, and look forward to speaking with you again, and we can delve into some of the contents of this book. But until the book comes out, I'm still speaking at conferences, even virtually, about hidden anomalies of Antarctica and the mysteries of South America, the two presentations I put to trip early last year. So,
Since your
where
band
did you want to go next?
since your bandwidth is a little low and we're losing the sound, you want to turn off your camera so we can hear you? I don't want to
Okay,
be.
sure. I'll just go straight audio. No problem.
Thank you. Thank you. That way we won't have the boing boing
That's okay.
instead of what you're
Is that better?
saying. Much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. When we first met, it was at the conference in Albuquerque, New Mexico, called Stargate to the Cosmos, that Janet and Sasha Lesson had put together. And I was in this mindset of I had no idea why I was invited to a consciousness conference. And I felt really, really seriously out of place. And you were one of the few people that immediately made me feel welcome. And I appreciate that very much. And you gave me a couple of your books, and I've read one of them. And the vocabulary was a bit over my head, but I plugged along. And by the time I got to the end, it was actually pretty good. So I recommend that people read your books. And I want to be put on the waiting list for this new one. And
You bet, Penny.
I'll
Yeah, that
send
was
you
was an interesting conference,
over my head.
that Stargate to the Cosmos, because we were had more speakers than there were attendees. So just gave us all the opportunity to meet each other and get to know each other's material. And I have just been utterly fascinated with your experience ever also on a super soldier panel together at the 5D conference last year. And that was very enlightening, some of the things you had to say there.
Well, I come from a different faction than most of the whistleblowers. And because the public thinks we're all one group out there, they're looking at what I'm saying and going, wait a minute, that doesn't match up with what Randy Kramer is saying. It doesn't match up with what Andy Bajago is saying. It doesn't match up with what half a dozen others. I'm blanking on names today of all days. So I've had a cold all week. I do have my voice, but my memory is still shot. But the biggest question that I get from people is, why doesn't my information match up with anyone else out there? And the simple matter is, I served with the Germans and nobody else did, or had at the point where I started talking. Now, there have been others that have served with the Germans and the Draco since I came forward, but I knew them before they came forward, and they were watching to see how I would be received, because we're coming out with the other side of the story. So, and modern America has not been particularly enthralled with telling both sides of any story. They pick who they want to be the heroes, and the truth be damned. So there are now probably a dozen of us who have served with the Germans or with the Draco or both, who are out there telling what we remember too. And in fact, one of the
and that's what I found so interesting.
One of the headliners
with your account
that everybody knows has started calling us the Dark Fleet disclosure, and that we are ruining disclosure. Well, we're not buying into his narrative is all. We're telling the other side. So, but yeah, I asked you on here to talk about you.
Your account was just so fascinating, Penny, and I have met and interviewed and talked to several other members of the Secret Space program. In fact, I just saw Randy Kramer 2 weeks ago when I was in now, and we both appeared with the Hertax on a little interview that they were doing. And the fact that you come from the German program is really intriguing, because while Randy was with the American fleet, and many others like James Rink and Anne-Marie Smith, Corey Good, they were all in the American programs. So the story of your experience would be different. And of course, we know that the Germans didn't quite just go away after World War II. The German after World War II, but the Third Reich never did surrender. And I'll tell you, on my trip,
Germany did.
Found a lot of evidence. Germany did, but not the Third Reich, not the political party. And that's my point.
Okay.
The loot that they got out of Europe and took it down to South America. And some of their bases, huge land holdings I have discovered in Chile and Argentina.
Oh,
Huge tracts of land, Penny, that are
there's a
owned
huge
by,
area in Argentina that is called Little Bavaria.
right. Actually, many pockets of little Bavarias all over the probably the most famous one, where many leaders, including Obama, went on a secret trip right before his. And there's also La Falda above Cordoba. Cordoba, Argentina was the big industrial center, Argentina. And what do you know? Mostly German factories around there. So you have all kinds of money that was pouring in right after the war. And why I find this so interesting is because the money man, Martin Bormann, he also kept popping up all over South America. He was Hitler's number 2 at the end of the war. And it's quite likely that Adolf Hitler did not die in the bunker of Berlin, but escaped with Eva Braun and Martin Bormann and others to go to start up the Fourth Reich in America. Now, when you say the Fourth Reich in America, most people think in USA, because we interchange USA with America sometimes. But when I say Fourth Reich in America, it's also South America.
Yeah.
So a lot of evidence that they have reformed down there, as well as the New Berlin Bay region of Antarctica, which you would see on a globe today as Queen Mauding Land, or
Queen
Maud Land,
yes,
just below South Africa. And I've been able to pinpoint the location of that base.
Have you really? Because I have a friend who is a surveyor in Oregon.
I know where it is.
And he's used Google
Maps. Yeah, and I've been poring over that have come up, including one that I'm going to include in my book Beyond Esoteric, that shows the New Schwabenland region and the mountain range where the New Berlin base was supposedly built, which is not far from the Schumacher Ponds, and that is indicated on this map. So if I were ever to go back down to Antarctica, Penny, I would go with a film crew, and I would like to go to this New Schwabenland area, in particular around the Schumacher Ponds, to explore around and see if we can find base 211, the New Berlin base. And I'd go down there with Geiger counters too, to see if there was any radioactive residue from Operation Argus, which in the late 1950s were still classified today, top secret nuclear testing in the Southern Ocean. And it was presumed that what that testing was for was to test alternative one, which is poking holes in the upper atmosphere to pollution to escape. What a bonehead idea that was. In fact, that's what the whole hole in the ozone was really all about.
It was entirely, yes. It had absolutely nothing to do with hairspray, although we did use a lot of it then.
And so the reason I believe that Argus is still top secret is because they lobbed a few nuclear bombs over there in New Schwabenland to take out once and for all the New Berlin base. And you'll find this very interesting. Just Operation Argus were the beginnings of the Antarctica Treaty, which were fully ratified in 1961.
Okay.
Which basically sets aside the entire continent for scientific reasons, is one of the Antarctica. Well, why would you even need to put that article in there unless there had already previously been some nuclear testing going on? So it could be very interesting to find out if there is any residue of going off in the New Schwabenland area in the late 1950s during Operation Argus.
Now, they were doing a lot of above ground testing clear into the 1970s, I believe. And that would make my understanding of when Neuve Berlin was moved to Mars make more sense if the Americans were nuking them.
Yeah.
Because the new city was being built in the 1980s, and I was transferred off Mars in 1990. But another alter who served also with the Germans would check in. Neu Berlin was like home base where we went to report. So, but it was on Mars.
Oh, so you've been there.
The one on Mars, yes, not the one in Antarctica. That particular.
That was also called New Berlin.
That particular altar, when she was sent back, it wasn't through the usual protocol. So I have probably 50% of her memory. So that's really high for any of us. A lot of the day-to-day stuff is like a blur on a good day, but to have 50% of an altar's memory, that's really good. And that one started off with Kruger, the same one that James Rink was in, and was transferred to Nacht Waffen, the Germans, 5 years in. So that altar did 15 years with the Germans doing intel. We were pretending to be smugglers in space. And they wanted me because that altar wasn't German and spoke English, and it helped cover the ones who were. They were trying to pretend to be smugglers rather than German military, which is actually a really common way for these societies out there to monitor their dissidents, divergence. The fact that you have rules, you will automatically have a percentage of your population that diverges from them. And that percentage has to be monitored. And that's part of what's going on with the disclosure movement is our government is considering us to be divergent. And so we have to be watched and monitored and occasionally taken down because we are presenting a different narrative than what they want. So,
well, how have you been able to do this radio show and keep exposing it? Have you been threatened or targeted at all?
Well, on the one hand, it was the NSA.
Told to shut up?
It was the NSA who activated the memories, on one hand. On the other hand, I've been shot 10 times with energy weapons. I've been permabanned off Facebook. I had a page with 603,000 followers that was just one day they decided that they didn't want it anymore and deleted it. And I've had agents contact me. There was a DOD agent who informed me that I was the last survivor of the Langley class of 64. And that's exactly what she called it. And that's a really elegant name for the last one of the kids that got raped. But
wow.
She
Wow.
was
And
setting me
you're,
up for a mission where I would be killed. That was the outcome that they wanted. She told me that I was bringing in a rogue agent to be rehabilitated. And they told the so-called rogue agent, that I was the rogue and that her mission was to kill me. And I'm here and she's not. And about 2 months ago, I had another DoD agent contact me for a similar mission, and I told him goodbye. And I had someone else show up last week on Facebook. I've had strangers show up at the door. There was a black SUV that would sit where they could see in my living room window. So I keep the blinds shut now. But yeah, it's been interesting. I mean, I know they have technology they can see in, but I'm not going to make it any easier for them. You know, if they want to know what I'm talking about, they can watch my YouTube channel. They can listen to my radio show. True?
there you go. Yeah, you're not too hard to find.
No,
You're
I'm
right
not.
there out in the open. But
I'm
don't you think that the whole control grid of the call it's starting to break down right now, and people like you and me, we're just not as really important as they once maybe want, actually, but now they got bigger fish to fry, and they're feeling the pressure now coming down on them. So I think that we're perhaps coming into a more of a golden age. I know a lot of YouTube channels were taken down last week, and certainly censorship is alive and well. But could this turn around in a positive way?
I'm looking at, okay, because I still have ongoing contact with the Germans, and they have told me they know I'm talking and they just want me to give a balanced presentation. You know, tell the good with the bad. And that's actually reasonable. So I've been in contact with them, and I've been in contact with the Guardians, the real ones who are the military police of the galactic government. And I've been in contact with altogether about 8 different ET groups over the time I've been public, which is what, 4 years now?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm getting horse's mouth intel. And I'm not hearing anybody else saying what I've been told. So I've gotten to where I'm kind of leery about telling much of it, because the kickback is really hard to deal with on an ongoing basis. So I will say that about half of what I hear in the disclosure movement is just bullshit. It's what they wishful thinking, what they would like to be true. And there's a lot of religion mixed in with the facts. And the core religions are Christianity and New Age. And the New Agers can't agree on any set of holy books. They're all going by basically current channeling. And the channeling has been taken over by the CIA's V2K project. So if they're channeling and they're not wearing a EMF blocker cap, they might as well just say, "I'm CIA Central." So I disregard most of what they say for that simple reason. I've tried to read the Urantia book. I've tried to read The Law of One. And both of them, my mind would just blur. So that didn't get very far.
Right.
I have read the Emerald Tablets, and they felt like that they were written to me personally. And in fact, I had a shock moment when someone else quoted them to me, and I'm like, oh my God, they are public, aren't they? Stuff I remember. You go along and you think that it's just something you're doing, and then realize other people are involved too.
Right.
I've been contacted
you had your memory swiped.
Yeah, I've had my memory swiped. So I've been contacted by 6 different secret societies. Folks, they were not connected to each other, but they were all people that the outside world would call Illuminati. And they all had respectable credentials that verified that's indeed who they were. And so
Right.
I've been being taught.
Were you?
Am I what?
Well, I was going to ask how it was that you were able to recover your memories. Did you have to do hypnosis, or did it just start coming back to you, or over time just started to piece it all together?
The NSA.
Because I think
the NSA, the National Security Agency, sent an agent, and he knew my remember code and made sure he used it multiple times. He knew what programming had been used on my main altar, and knew that if they could activate that main altar's memory, that it would create a cascade effect and I would eventually remember them all. So I was deliberately activated, and I have reintegrated 31 altars since then. That was in 2013. So I do not know why the NSA chose me. I do not know why they chose to activate my memories. I know that the agent and his boss were both killed in 2016. So I can't even ask them why. And it came back. All of that first altar's memories came back in a big lump, and they were all in German, which Penny, the Earth altar, I can read German, but I don't speak it very well. And so I've had a hell of a time sorting it out, where a lot of the other whistleblowers, their memories were in English, and they've isolated themselves from everyone else's testimonies to keep their own pure. I didn't have that luxury. I didn't know what the hell I was remembering. But I had all the visuals, I had all the sensory input, I had all the emotional parts, and I had all this talk in German that I didn't understand. So I had to figure out what I was remembering. So I did a hellacious amount of research that first 3 years. All of the researchers that documented everything. Funny, the same ones that think I'm insane and full of shit today. Uh, these guys, their books are incredible. Don't listen to what they say. But I was friends with Jim Mars before he died. And he was
Yeah, he was great. We missed him.
he was awesome. And we had some messenger conversations where he wasn't sure he believed my memories, but what I said matched up with what he had found in his research, so he was intrigued. I've talked to Dr. Robert Duncan about the mind control aspects because I had so many alters and I was subjected to V2K for decades. I was one of the first people they rolled it out on in 1981 and dealt with it until I got my EMF blocker cap in 2016. So he thought that I was chosen because I was poor white trash, which is what my local community thinks I am. And one of the things that I've had like a compulsion, OCD compulsion to do was my family tree. And I've found the official term is a hidden royal, as in my family got exiled to America and forgotten about. So that's in keeping with what.
Wow. Now, do you have many?
Do I have what?
Do you have memories of the New Berlin base? You said on Mars?
I had memories of it being built. I don't have a lot of memories of the city itself because of my CIA modifications. They considered me too dangerous to be around civilians as a general rule.
Hmm.
Um,
Do you know approximately where it was being built on the planet?
no, I'm pretty sure that Eris Prima is on Mons Olympus. That's the only
Okay.
one I'm certain of. And I've had so many times I was taken that the different alter lifetimes kind of turn into a blur. So
Because I talked to Randy Kramer about his experience on Mars, and he says he was up pretty far north and different life that was living there. And I was doing a panel with him 2 weeks ago in Sedona, and the moderator was just, he couldn't believe it and was almost mocking him, saying, "You mean you were confronting reptilians and there's actually life there?" He says, "Oh yeah, there's trees and you can go on Google Earth and you can see it."
You can go
and
on
he's right.
Google
Way up
Mars and
north, there is trees and it is somewhat Earth-like.
There's trees. It's more so on the southern hemisphere. There's a whole miles and miles and miles of water in the summertime that's about 2-3 feet deep. Miles and miles. It would look like an ocean if it were on Earth. It's just not very deep. And it freezes at night, thaws out in the daytime. There's more water at the poles. And that's why all the life forms have shifted to the poles, is because of the water. You have to have water to live. You have to have air to live. And that
have to have water.
The air situation you have, like in the Great Rift, I forget what we call it here. The big canyon on the face of Mars. You know, you look at Mars and that's what you see.
Oh, right. Yeah.
In
Yeah.
the bottom of that, there's more oxygen than at the top. So you get more life forms in the valleys than you do in the mountaintops, because even in the valleys, you're talking about the equivalent of 8,000 foot elevation on Earth. And when you go to the mountains, you're talking closer 12,000 feet. And so the difference in oxygen level alone makes a difference in what kind of life forms you're going to see. But yeah, it has, if you think of Mars as originally a near twin to Earth, and then there's an event that takes out 2 miles of dirt for the whole northern hemisphere and over half the atmosphere and the water with it. Okay, what you have left is the ecosystem that survived that event. So it's those creatures who require less food, less water, less air, and are able to live in freezing conditions at night.
Mm-hmm.
So you have insects, you have reptiles, you have burrowing mammals, you have burrowing birds. Those are the major life forms. All of the sentient life forms have underground cities. And complicating all of that are the sandstorms that will go around the planet for months on end. And they get so staticky that the lightning bolts will hit Phobos and make it ring like a bell. That's why all of the cities and military bases on Mars are underground, is because the EMF from these sandstorms will take out all electronics on the surface. It's a major big deal.
Were you able to breathe the air on Mars?
Yeah.
Or is it not possible?
You can breathe, you just can't run fast. You have to have an oxygen supplement if you're going to go into battle.
Life or death, you could probably breathe if you just laid still, but for the most part, it's not oxygen rich.
It's not oxygen rich. It's not oxygen rich. You can move around some. You just can't go fast. It's like being at the top of the Rockies. You know, you can do it. You just got to go slower.
Got to go slow.
That's all.
Wow.
So and if you want
Randy
to go
Kramer
fast,
said that he battled.
Yeah. When
Did
the Germans
you ever encounter?
Well, yeah.
Did you ever encounter reptilians, and what was the? Yeah.
When the Germans got there, every square inch belonged to somebody else. That's what humans on Earth don't understand. Every square inch of space belongs to somebody already. There are 2 ways to get a place to live. You sublet from somebody that owns it, or you go to war and you take it. That's it. So
Sounds like this planet.
We, the Germans, sublet from the Draco, but their territories were not suitable for mammalian human life. There wasn't enough air, there wasn't enough water, and there was way too much EMF. So The Germans found where they wanted to live, and they used what were basically neutron bombs. They nuked these people, and I use the term people loosely, and waited 6 months and moved into the now empty houses. Literally, that's what they did. And that started a war in 1962 that went at least until 1990 when I left. That same war that Randy Kramer's people are still using those victims as target practice.
Wow.
The Germans started it so they could have their own place to live where the people.
Randy is
Randy, what?
okay. Now another thing Randy said is that he's had limbs torn off and other things that would have killed a normal person, but he was brought back to life and regenerated his limbs with a new kind of technology that has not been released to us humans on Earth. Were you familiar with that kind of technology, or did anything like that happen to you? Did you lose a limb or sustain any injuries that would have killed a normal person here, but they brought you back?
My faction has a different technology from Randy's faction. Ours is called a regeneration tank.
Okay.
And it's 2 meters across cylinder. So the diameter is 2 meters and it's 3 meters tall. And you can't see into it from the outside. You have to open the lid at the top, and they hang you from a hook on the inside, and it's filled with a gel that is made out of black goo. They take the sentience out before they use it in this process. But they're using black goo as a raw material for it. And on the outside of the tank, there is a computer about the size of an iPad. And there's a little slot in it where they can put in a sample of your original blood, so that if you're infested with anything, that they can take that out too. So they're using the blood as a DNA sample, and there are settings for age, weight, conditions. So like if you're naturally nearsighted, they can give you perfect vision. If you're naturally pigeon-toed, they can fix your feet, things like that. This is a manted empire technology that is leased to the Germans, and I do not know what the payment for it is. But yeah, this is an ET tech. And they can bring you back from the dead
as well for rapid cloning.
They don't exactly use it for rapid cloning. What they use it for is they're bringing you back in what they consider to be your original body. And they can bring you back from the dead for up to 4 months. Now, if they put a clone into a regeneration tank, you will lose the person who has been popped into it. It will only regenerate the clone's original mind and soul, not the squatter. Now, that's something else people think, is that clones are mindless, soulless, just bodies, and they're not. The mind and the soul come with the DNA. All they have done is basically imposed someone else on top of them. They just grow them so quickly that the mind can't mature. And so that's why factions that use clones, you're only there for 20 years, because at approximately 20 to 25 years, the clone's mind will push the asset out. And then you're left with somebody who hasn't been educated or trained. So the Germans do not
Wow.
use clones other than as slaves.
But that technology is there. They could clone just about anyone or anything, right?
The
They just
Germans
choose
not
not
so
to.
much. The
No.
Germans, it wasn't.
Randy Kramer
Okay,
said 2 weeks
I know
ago when we were on a panel.
In terms of what Americans think of Germans, they think of them as these horrible Nazis. The Germans in space are not Nazis. They left that on Earth. They are basically atheistic, but they do hold themselves to an ethical standard that is really hard to explain to normal Americans because they have this mindset of Nazis in space. But a lot of the things that the other factions do, they consider to be abominations. They do have a blind spot about the cyborgs that they use because the average German civilian is unaware that it's using human brains in it. They just see a machine.
So one really interesting thing that Randy said in that panel in Sedona 2 weeks ago is that he is actually living in a clone body. That's he's 46 years old, but the clone body is 50 years on top of that, and he claims he's 96 years old, but he looks like a 46-year-old. Do you think that's possible, that he has memories of his spirit then going over to a clone? And is that possible that you know of?
Your mind and spirit being moved into a clone is very possible. I've been awake during the process.
And then the old body just dies and you stay in the clone and age as you would?
Not necessarily.
Is that how it works?
My body, they put it in stasis. And whenever that they wanted me to come home, they killed the clone body and my mind and soul returned to my body in stasis, and they pulled me out of the machine. So different factions use different technologies.
Well, or just
So that's some. These people are not talking to each other. Okay, the only way I know what Solar Warden does is because as a navigator on a ship, I had to take complaints from ET allies about the way Solar Warden treated them. So I know about Solar Warden's atrocities from the ETs they did it to, not from Solar Warden. They don't talk to us, or actually we don't interact with them, more accurate. The Germans in space consider the American programs to be attempts to take World War II back into space.
Wow.
So they don't want anything to do with them. They use American assets that are provided to them by the CIA because that's the contract that was part of the treaty at the end of Operation High Jump. And people can read about that. Admiral Byrd's diaries are open to the public.
And do you think that were the Nazis in Antarctica, were they aligned with the reptilians? And was it their craft that confronted Admiral Byrd, or was it the backward engineered German craft of the newly formed Nacht Waffen that sent Operation High Jump back where it came from 2 months into a 6-month operation. Do you have any intel on what really happened at High Jump, the Battle of High Jump?
I can tell you what the Germans taught me on Mars. Now, whether that's objectively true or not, I don't know.
Okay.
Their side of the story is that they left Germany because Hitler was losing the war, because he would not listen to the aristocracy, he was listening to the Jesuits. The aristocracy were who took the super weapons to Neuschwabenland. And they were the traditional guardians of the German tribes. And make no mistake about it, the German people are still tribal in space. They are not a monolith like everybody thinks. But they have been tribes on Earth for at least 5,000 years, and they are still tribes in space. And what they have done is created a federation of free worlds. That's what they call themselves. When you ask what they're free of Earth's bankers. So you can follow that thread yourself. Now, they said they were in Antarctica, minding their own business, that the war was over, that they were trying to get off Earth, and that the only ET race who would work with them were the Draco. It was not that they had options. And so they were in early stages of learning how to do hyperspace flight, which involves time travel. And they were setting up colonies for 100 years in the past. And they were setting up a base, at least one base on the moon that was much older than that. And they were in the process of this when Admiral Byrd showed up. And that he came in arrogant and disrespectful and with military presence, and that his intention was to destroy them, and that the battle was a combined force of what Hanabu were workable and the few Draco that were actually there. That the Draco never had a large presence, because being in a room with one will kill a human. So they never had a large presence because they weren't trying to kill people. And the Germans had made a deal where there were, I'm not sure how many, but it was a ship full of German people were handed over to the Draco, and those people were all dead within a half hour. And over the 400 years of these colonies, the Germans have proven their worth to the Draco as a military ally. And so my understanding is that the Draco are no longer considering us food because of that. So it proves, that there is evolution out there, that some of these races that everybody thinks are crappy do have the ability to change. Now, this is the way it came down. Was the Germans say that Admiral Byrd came in, the equivalent of a bat out of hell, looked around a little bit, started making a mess, and set up to do an attack. basically at the front gate to their base, and that they
Right.
presented their newfound abilities, and that he lost, and that he took the news back to Truman, and Truman refused to sign the treaty. And so in 1952 and 53, after Eisenhower was elected, they buzzed the White House. The sightings over the White House that everybody asks, what were these glowing discs? They were Hanabu from Antarctica.
Right.
And what was it, 2 or 3 weekends in a row? And at the end of which Ike agreed to sign the treaty. And one of the terms of the treaty was that 150,000 Americans would be turned over to serve in the German military every year. And I was one of those people in 1964. And because I was primarily a German asset, the CIA was allowed to lease my altars to other factions, but I was never to be taken out of my natural body permanently. So I'm still in the original body, because that's the only body that will work with their regeneration technology. And we've spent the whole hour talking about me. Now,
I know. And now I gotta go. I mean, we could just keep talking for hours and hours.
Now, my understanding of Randy Kramer's group is that they have a holographic technology that does not require your natural body, that it is suitable for people who are possessing clones. Oh, that's how the Germans see it, is that they're possessing they're possessing their identical twins. You want to give a plug to your latest projects before you take off?
Yeah, sure. If people want to check my work out, go to bradolsen.com or cccpublishing.com is my publishing website. I have a YouTube channel that has not been taken down yet. Hopefully it won't. Called Esoteric Series, or under CCC Publishing. And my new book called Beyond Esoteric, Escaping Prison Planet, will be out by the end of this year, but you can all pre-order it on Amazon right now or your favorite bookstore. I have a great book distributor that's getting it out there, and we should definitely do this again, Penny, and we'll have more time to discuss the new book and pick up where we left off here today. This has been so fascinating.
Oh my God, it's the
I'm
great
glad
Brad
you could
Olsen.
make it, and I'm sorry your bandwidth didn't cooperate with the video part.
Yeah, we'll try to get that improved next time. And I think I hear Daryl in the background.
Yeah, you know your brother's here, Brad. I love you, man. How you hanging,
Daryl
bro?
and I used to speak all the time. How you doing, buddy?
I love you, man.
Good to hear your voice.
How's your brother and your dad doing, man? I sent your dad a message a few weeks ago to say hi.
Likewise.
Yeah, man. I love him, man. Brad Olsen, I have to give you your credit, man. As much work as you do to put forth all this information, and the way you just got the opportunity to conduct an interview within an interview of Penny Bradley to get that knowledge and get that information that she had bottled up out. I give you power and I give you grace, because you are the man. And I love you.
Love to get information too, so I have no problem listening to Penny and answering my questions. That's been really fascinating and helpful for my research to hear her perspective on the German secret space program.
Oh yeah, it goes right with your book.
Well, guys, it's great hearing your voice. really enjoyed this time. I can't believe how quick an hour went. And let's pick it up on another time. Unfortunately, I have another pre-engagement I have to get on my way out to.
All right, Brad. I love you,
So
man. I'll
keep
be
up
sending you
the good work,
messages.
and I'll talk with you guys soon.
Aye, aye. And we have the
Take
great
care.
Penny Bradley. Oh my God. Take care, Brad. Penny Bradley, the great one. I love her to death. This lady is the light. She is the truth. People need to realize that. There ain't nothing but truth. Nothing but the truth with Penny Bradley. Ain't it right, girl?
I do my best.
And I mean, I just loved it because I know you pulled out some information this time that you didn't give out any other time. I mean, you went deep.
Well,
You went deep.
I lived this, and people, you know, I listened to some of the other folks, and I know they didn't get their memory activated like I did. But I listen to some of the things they say and go, where'd you get that? And I'm not going to yell names because I would like to believe that they're being honest and straightforward. You still there?
Oh, I'm always there. I mean, I'm
Okay.
always sitting there. Look, I'm over your shoulder. I'm on the planet. Hold on, I'm on the star that's right behind you, girl. Let me tell you, the information that you gave out about the Germans was shocking. But then you talked about Mars. I mean, you talked about the big crater there. And hold on, people, oxygen.
Oxygen.
But
There's,
but these people
the
still say
most recent stuff from NASA is proving that Mars has an atmosphere that's bluish, and you only get that if there's nitrogen and oxygen together.
that's true. And then you
So,
talked about water too.
mm-hmm.
And guess what? I guess as we see the world turns and time keeps going on, the more of your statements will be proven, just like the rest of them in the back have been proven. Yeah,
Well, I've been public since 2016, and I came public because I was being shot at. So I put out a lot of information that first year that the technology I described is now being brought forward in patents and in declassified projects. And so people who look at my early work can say, wait a minute, she's being confirmed. No, I don't have a DD 214 because I never served in the military on Earth. I don't have documents saying that I was a CIA project. The project that I was part of was part of the massive records purge that happened in 1975 because the CIA did not want the Church Commission to find out what they had been doing to people. But obviously somebody still has my records if the NSA knew what my remember code was. It's just a matter of finding out who. Now, that first altar that they activated, I spent 25 years on Mars from 1964 to 1990. So that's a big chunk of time to spend in one place doing stuff that people don't believe happened. And the more details I give out over time, the more of them will be verified.
well, they did. Well, to be honest, they did the same thing when it comes to the Vietnam War. They didn't know that we were there already before we got declaring that we were in Vietnam. I mean, a lot of situations in this country, from the military aspect, they didn't. We were already there before they declared war in the Gulf. We were already there. I mean, I'm sorry,
Oh,
people.
that whole Gulf of Tonkin incident was a false flag to justify the actions they were already taking.
See?
They already had Air America going, creating a, it was between the area of Thailand to Vietnam on one end and Afghanistan on the other, that between them you control the heroin trade for the entire planet. And the CIA was in the process of taking over both.
That's right.
And that was why the Russians stepped into Afghanistan, was to stop us.
They wanted some of that money.
When they failed, we went in because the Taliban had taken over. We had written them up as the Mujahideen, and the Taliban were these great heroes.
And we trained them.
And the first thing they did was put a fatwa on the poppy and cut off our access to heroin from Afghanistan.
And
well, I got a question for the CIA. We have whole stretches of the American West that are perfect for growing poppies. Why the hell don't they just grow their own?
Oh, because it's American soil.
Obviously.
Because you know, we had to go in because we had to save the supply. That, you know, Russia tried to get the supply, and we armed the Taliban and these other groups, hint, hint, because we trained them, hint, hint, to keep the Russians out. But people don't want to know this information. No, this information is conspiracy theory. No, it's actually written in books, damn it.
Yeah, well, I'm to the point where I just speak what I know to be the truth. And if people like it, they like it. If they don't got to listen to me.
Well, you know, I was talking to my girl Cynthia this morning, another host on the network who loves your show as well. And she said, you know something? I just go up there and I just tell you the truth. If you like it, good. If you follow it, good. If you research and find it to be true, good. But if you research it and you challenge me and you find out it to be true, can you at least come back and say, hold on, you told the truth, and give me some validation?
I need to get a hold of some of her books.
Oh.
The ones where she researched all the people who came on all the ships
Yeah,
to
the
America.
names. Yeah, we were talking about that today, too. Yeah, I told you Cynthia loves you.
I need those books because my family was exiled here.
Uh-oh.
So we were not on the official transcripts. And I'm working on, I've got my tree on Ancestry.com. And I'm getting relatives going, well, how do you know? We have no proof that person ever came to America. Okay.
And you know something that's really funny? I bet you if you even check the great book at Ellis Island in New York. Yeah. The great book with all of its names on it. Hold on. If your name was on that book, could you be considered a Mayflower woman? Or a member of the Daughters of American Revolution?
I have ancestors that served in the Revolution. I have more than one ancestor. My family has been in North America since 1615 with the first French ship into Canada. And they married into the Micmac tribe. So, you know, I am what I am. I'm this effing half-breed that nobody wants to admit that I'm part of them.
You know, that's kind of interesting. You mentioned the Micmac tribe. I was, years ago, I talked to a person named Patty Broussard that tried to make...
I know of her.
Yeah, made information claims on the Micmac tribe. And a lot of people were actually after the information about it, and no one would come up with anything about their location, what happened to the tribe, did the tribe disintegrate, disappear, blend out, what happened to it? And
They kind of blended in with the French Canadians, which in those days were called Acadie.
Acadie, yeah.
And the situation became that France kept sending ships full of men who married the local girls, and the kids were raised as Micmac rather than French. And along the way, one of the kings of France decided that his colony was really Native American. And so he sent, I believe it was 3 ships of women who were from Paris. And a lot of them were prostitutes. A lot of them were just orphans, daughters of poor families, where they would never have a dowry and be able to marry. And so all they had to do was agree to be available to marry someone in the colony.
So it was legal
And
prostitution.
it wasn't any worse than indentured slavery in the English colonies. They were being given an opportunity to not be in prison, to not be burned at the stake, what their life would have been had they stayed in Paris. So the 1600s, they were still burning women.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about that's where my family came from. So I have one great-grandmother who was French Canadian. And that's her line. And she married into an English and Scottish family who are Plantagenets.
Really?
I have 3 great-grandparents who are Plantagenets.
That's weird.
No, I come from a family that was bred like racehorses to be CIA assets. Now, this is the underlying testimony is when the Germans demanded that they get these people, this was who the CIA targeted, were these families who were disinherited descendants of royalty, because it's a genocide.
In other words, they were cleaning out the bloodline.
They were cleaning out. Okay. Now this is going to go deep, and I'm not sure you want to go this deep, but
I'll drive the truck. If you want to ride with me, we can ride all day, girl, because you know something? Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power. I've been hearing a lot of crap lately about this group and that group and the other 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 group.
And they all crazy, ain't they?
They're all factions engaged in a mafia turf war.
They're pawns.
And I was born into one of those factions without ever knowing it, because my family had hidden who we were. So I was born into a bloodline that is called MER, and it stands for Maravingian. Now, if you ever listened to Max Spears before he was killed, he told as many times as people would listen that the Maravingians were being targeted. We are. We're being targeted by the Jesuits and the CIA. This is a 1,000-year-old war between the Vatican and the Maravingians. And it started with the Albigensian Crusade in the 1200s. where they went through an entire region of southern France and northern Spain, and they killed almost everyone. And that was the area that the Knights Templar came from.
Wasn't that also the they're supposed to be the ancestry bloodline of Jesus as well?
Yes.
Okay, I thought my memory didn't fail me.
Yes.
Now, see, look, you're talking to somebody that has an extensive memory and recall. Because when you said that, I was thinking, aren't they the bloodline of Jesus? Which means they would be
Yes,
the.
they are the bloodline of Jesus. Yes, I am from the bloodline of Jesus. I have both of my parents are bloodline of Jesus. This is why I was chosen for the CIA pet project in space. When they talk about the genetics, all these people go out and they say, yeah, well, they were checking to see if I had the genetics. Yes. The bloodline of Jesus is an ET hybrid bloodline. That's how we have the genetics to do the psionic abilities, what used to be called magic. I've talked about in some of my shows that I have telepathy. I've talked about I was a navigator because I could take solid objects into hyperspace and bring them out again without anyone being in a wall or a floor. That's the ET genetics in my bloodline that the CIA added Draco to. So even though I'm an RH positive, that boost popped me up to the top level again. So under the old rules in Europe in 1600, I would have been burned at the stake as a witch.
You were a witch.
Yeah.
Because you have something that the church could not possess or control. That's the
because
reason.
The church feared it because they were a patriarchy who did not see the need for women at all. They went through entire regions of Europe that were Maravingian bloodline and killed all the women.
And that was the reason for the Crusades.
That was right after the Crusades. They went into the Middle East and they tried to take back the Holy Land, and they killed thousands of the locals who had those genetics. And then those families that had those genetics. And then they went through entire regions of Europe and killed off Germans and Swedes and Norwegians and Icelanders and Brits and Irish and anyone that had red in their hair or green in their eyes, and I have both. They killed off anyone that had any kind of knowledge of herbs. Well, my great-grandmother taught me that. Anyone that knew how to heal with their hands, anyone that could read another person and tell them what they were like, that would be half of your hosts. These are the people that they were targeting. And now they are still targeting those same people for their space programs because they plan to send us out there and make us so weird that when we come back, we can't reproduce. And have us so mind controlled that we never wake up to who we are. Okay, I know you have hosts that talk about the Moorish legacy. I have no problem with the Moors because I know something that a lot of people are not even thinking of. When you look back at the original mythos of Atlantis, Poseidon married a human and they had 5 sets of twins. And each one of those children became a tribe. There are 10 tribes out of Atlantis. The Moors are one of them. My family's another. Who are the other 8?
That's a good question.
I'm not saying my family's superior to anybody. I'm just saying we're one of those 10.
Wouldn't the legacy be that the fact that through breeding, being worldly, and being a society where everyone is blended, wouldn't that today, in today's world, make us what we are today? Human?
Yeah.
In more ways than one?
We still have 2 species here. We have the folks who are descended from Atlantis primarily. And we have everybody else.
But I mean, even if they're descendants of Atlantis, they've been blended down. I mean, come on. Everybody wants to touch that hidden fruit.
Ain't nobody perfect. Ain't nobody pure anymore.
There's nothing
but
pure.
We've still got that social distinction.
Well, I mean, with the purity factor, as I was saying again, there ain't nothing pure out there in this world, because you can go in anybody's DNA and find everything else.
Pretty much, yeah.
So when people think there's just one, there's never going to be really a multitude anymore. There is one basic genetic feature or coding or life within all of us. I mean, if you have a soul, you have what was given to us from the creation aspect. But then on the other side, if you don't have a soul, you can't be here. You must be an android or a clone. But hold on, even clones have souls. So we got issues there.
Even clones have souls. So the way I was taught it by the Germans is if it runs a meat suit, it has a soul.
And that's a true statement.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter what the meat suit looks like.
If it's encased in something like a sausage, it must be alive and have a soul.
Pretty much.
And
so I deal with all these people every day who tell me all kinds of crap about 3D physical extraterrestrial beings in meat suits, because they cannot distinguish between a meat suit and an interdimensional.
Well, to go deeper, they can't distinguish between a meat suit and anything else, because most of the people in this world cannot see. They're so indoctrinated with life's information that the man has told the man that's told the man that the woman is down taking it to their child, and it keeps going on. Man, you've been blended down so much you don't have no originality. It's like a drink. You keep watering it. And I don't water mine.
That's pretty much what's going on is compare the truth to a bottle of whiskey, and they just keep adding water.
You know, Penny, I hate to do this.
You get to the point where you don't even have the smell or the taste anymore.
Hold on, Penny. You know I got to do it because, you know, it's time for me to get my smile back on. Here we go. And I want you to know that you just said, oh, you must be a psychic, girl, because you know something? I'm bringing it up. My bottle of whiskey. You know, that's the reason why I love my Penny Bradley. That's the reason why I get happy, because she gonna cut it nice and dry for you. And like I always tell you, and I tell everybody on this network will tell you the same thing. Do your research. If you find I got an error, please let me know. But if you do the research and you don't find an error, won't you come and let me know that you didn't find an error, so that I know what I'm doing is affecting somebody else, meaning the person that's doing it. Penny
Well,
just gave you
I've
information.
been finding that people are misquoting me, so I was getting pretty frustrated.
You know something? It goes back to the story, Penny, that you tell this one thing to one person, this person tell it to another person, this person tell it to another person. You know the whole story changes by the time you get to the next person down the road, right?
Yeah, I know. But
So,
these are the people that heard it out of my mouth that misquoting me.
well,
So,
you know what they do, right? It's called I'm trying to take that story, like a lot of people in the arena does. They take your story or take somebody else's story, make it their story, one up that story, and make it even better and make it even more quote unquote special.
well, there are some ways to tell if someone from my community is real or not. And I'm going to just out the whole system.
Hold up.
If you're real,
Okay.
you're angry
Mm.
because you were taken against your will, you were mind fractured, you were put through hell, you were subjected to things that are nightmares, and you never can get back to being that whole person you were born to be. You're pissed. Number two, you're tired
Oh yeah.
because you have lived longer than your calendar age, and you are just tired. Your soul is worn out. I have been on 91, 60 and backs. Do the math yourself. It scared me when I did. And those are the altars I know about. And I only know about 40 out of 2,200. So I'm tired. And sometimes I'm bitchy because I'm tired and angry.
Well, you have a
And
reason.
sometimes innocent people get in the way of that bitchy.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like a louse afterwards. So,
Penny.
third thing, at least a third of us are sick because the technology they use to send us back from these trips makes us sick.
True. That's true.
We have altars because that's what they do, so they have deniability. They even call us dissociatives because they know what they did to us.
Mm-hmm.
So I can be going along talking, and all of a sudden you're talking to somebody else because I done switched. And God help you if I'm so stressed out that nobody wants to be front, because then I'll just sit here and stare.
I've seen that one.
Yeah, I know you've seen that one. Next, we real ones do not glorify the shit done out there.
I was gonna say that. I was gonna say that one specifically, and I'm not gonna say no names, but it was mentioned earlier that glorified it, and that name was mentioned. I'm gonna say it, and there has been a lot of people and a lot of interviews that has torn that person apart. That person was mentioned, whose name I will not say because he's not here to get drilled.
Yeah, I'd rather not, and I'd rather not have people contact me in Messenger with lists of names either. There's 300 of us now that are out there public, and my guess is that probably a third are not real. At least.
Yeah, I would listen. You good with a third? I would say maybe if you say 300 out there, I say maybe 15 are real, and I'm being nicer than you are on that situation. You said a third. I'm like, let's get a little bit nicer because I like to smite people around.
I've been doing counseling with people for 4 years. Close to 500 people have come to me. And out of those, there have only been 5 that I told were delusional. Now, most of these people don't have enough memory to come forward. They've just got flashes of this, that, or the other, and the PTSD, you know,
Yeah.
the anger, the tired. They've got the symptoms, but they don't have the memory to go with it. So I count those people as real because they went through something.
It could have been something in their past. It could have been them stuck in watching. I mean, it could have been a lot of things. Not necessarily they were in the program now, Penny, because I know some.
I'm
I know some
not
that
saying
were
they
stuck.
were necessarily in a program.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if they've got alters and they've got PTSD, they were in something.
They went through. I like the way she said it. Penny, that was smooth. I mean, that was like, hold on, let me smack that person real quick. You went through something, but you know what you went through? It might have dealt with mommy and daddy issues. It might have even been, a little bit of neglect in your past, that you were sitting there in front of that TV set, and then you took it to reality. These people, Penny will pinpoint real quick, because I know one that watched Star Blazers. I'm not gonna say no names. I'm not gonna say no names. Hint.
Doing counseling with people, about 2/3 of these folks are Rh negative. Okay, so you know who they are.
Yes.
And about half of them came back from space to be trafficked by their parents. Pardon my cussing, but it was their own frigging parents.
Yes.
And I have absolutely no mercy for those parents. Anyone who can have an innocent child of their very own and torture that child doesn't deserve to be a parent. I don't care who you are, what position you are in society. I don't care what color, what race, what language you speak. If you cannot treat your own child with honor and dignity, you don't deserve to have that kid.
I mean, that's low. I mean, parenting like that. Yes, I'm pouring my liquor. Parenting in that situation, it's neglect in more ways than one. And I mean, yes, you're right. A lot of are Rh negative, but then on the other side, there are those in this industry that want to get into it for the game, the game and the game. And those people, Penny, I want to smite them. I want. Listen, line them up. Let's get them all, because we don't play here. We keep it real. We tell the truth. Look at Penny Brady's telling the truth. She's saying, you know what's up, people? How dumb can you be not to listen to this woman that tells you the truth all the time? I mean, even Brad Olsen was like, I got to do my research.
I was grateful that you gave me a show on your network.
You ain't going nowhere.
Didn't charge me.
You ain't going nowhere.
Because everybody else wanted money.
You know what they want? Let me tell you what they want. They want to suck you dry, suck your energy from you, drink you like they drinking blood. Yeah, we talking about what we call industry vampires. I can name a bunch of them. They suck people out of their money. They beg for donations. They beg. Ooh, I'm going to go into cage fighting because I got to keep this network alive. Yeah, you wouldn't go into cage fighting with me, would you? But we ain't going to talk about that person. Oh, we got that person, same person that talks about my boy Chris Garcia. Chris Garcia real. He true. He's got the heart. He loves everything. But see, I don't have to go there. I don't have to prove it. Chris Garcia proves it every day. Penny, you prove it every day. Everybody on this network proves that they are real. How can you argue with that? Well, look, we put our face on the line every day. We talk as a family in the chat, but we put our faces on the screen for you people to see, because we don't hide. We're not shy. Actually, we don't give a fuck. We're going to give you the information. We're going to make you see the truth.
Actually, I'm pretty much an introvert.
We know that.
And I would not interact with people at all if I didn't have to. and I would never have gone public with my information except that I started getting shot at. I was perfectly happy being in a private Facebook group counseling other people going through the same shit I was.
I like when you said that, going through the same shit that I was. And you know what's really bad, Penny? These people, a lot of them, I'm sorry to say this, and I've seen it, a lot of them live off your story, off your information, off of your knowledge, off of who you are, and they try to make it to, let me say it, to the big land of Gaia. You in the wrong place. You need to come here,
Well,
where you can be real. I'm sorry. You made for TV, you go over there, okay? You made for TV. You like fake news. That's what you are. Fake news. Get your ass on that other side of the border. They pay you for being fake.
I don't know how much they pay. I've got a couple of folks I know that have been there, and they don't seem to have any more money than I do.
Well, you know why? Because they're not jumping on the game ship. They're not on the good ship Lollipop. I can tell you right now, just think about it. If you're going to be on Gaia TV, you got to get part of that royalty because you're on TV. You got to sign that contract. Just like the music industry, just like the any industry that deals with film and production. You got to sign that contract. Hold on. Don't forget. We got to sign that contract that says I'm not allowed to speak of those things that we do to make the show greater. You know, ghost hunters. I'm sorry, did I say that out loud? Maybe I'm wrong. Somebody prove me wrong. I mean, help me out. Somebody do the research.
I haven't been involved in TV, so I only know what people have told me. I do know that when you're doing production like that, where there's millions of dollars involved,
you got to get a share
on the production end, that there's a lot of things done that wouldn't be. And I saw the way that they treated.
I don't want you to start. Don't do it. Don't do it.
I saw the way that they treated Rice, Jason Rice. And it was after the debacle with Corey Good. And they required that he submit to a polygraph and an on-air regression hypnosis. And that was after he provided them with a DD-214, which is supposed to be the gold standard of ufology.
Yeah.
And I was mortified that they required that of him.
They dragged him through the mud just to get to the promised land. And the promised land's still not there for him.
And then after he did a roundtable that I was a part of, his life was threatened and he left the community entirely. He's not the first one that's been threatened for working with me either. Kevin Trammell was threatened for working with me and told specifically to not talk to me. And Ileana, the Star Traveler, who thankfully ignored the threats, was also threatened.
Real people.
Now, these were interviews 2017 to 2019 that I did with these people on a YouTube channel that had 500 likes. And the guys are no longer doing the channel, but we generated that kind of concern from the powers that be because they didn't want those people talking to me. Now I have to wonder why.
Hold on. My question is, why you, Penny? What makes you at home? Let's just do it right. Miss Bradley, I have a question. The question will be, Why is it that the powers that be are scared of little you? Little short thing, you.
I don't know.
What truths do you got that's hidden? Come on now, shake down, girl. We want to know what's up.
What can I prove? I can prove that an NSA agent and his boss activated my memory and then were killed 3 years later. I can prove that Kevin Trammell was told to stop talking, and specifically to stop talking to me. I can prove that Jason Rice was told to stop talking to me. I can prove that Ileana was told to stop interacting with me. And she's, even though we served in different factions in space, we're like besties. We run several Facebook groups together. We've been friends since 2016. She's one of the few really, really good friends that has stuck with me through the whole process. I have had someone go batshit on me once a month for 6 years now.
What?
Seriously, people that I thought were friends have just suddenly either gone crazy or gone on the attack. Now, I don't know if it's programming or if I just get bitchy and they can't deal with it. Because, I get that way sometimes.
Just a little, you get just a little bitchy. like
Yeah.
a little drink, a little bitchy.
Well, I have things I don't like. I don't like people reading me without my consent. I don't like people doing energy work on me because I have a couple that have been doing it with my consent, and when they're doing work and someone else puts their fingers in it, it's like too many cooks in a kitchen. It makes a mess,
Yeah.
rather than fixing anything. So I have, hell, I'll name them.
No.
Gregory Kovac and his lady Susan Love.
Oh my God.
They have been doing work on me since I met them in 2016.
The secret
And
has been revealed.
I don't. What did you say?
You revealed the secret. Hot dog it. Now we got to go find somebody else.
I revealed the secret. I have these two people in Oklahoma that are doing energy work on me, and they do a damn fine job. And anybody that gets them to work on them is lucky as hell.
But Penny, hold on. I thought what really gets under your nerve is when you get those fake, falsified, hey Katie, people that run through and want to try to, talk to you about your events that made you who you are in this public limelight. I mean, tonight we were supposed to have Brad Olsen, and it went from tell me about Antarctica to Mars to hold on. I'm more interested in what you got to say, Penny, because Brad, I'm telling you, I was like, Brad.
That event, I had, in a 3-day period, I had 10 things scheduled.
Good
and
God.
I had never been a speaker at a conference before. And I have health issues. And by the end, the day after the conference, I spent the entire day in bed because I was
beat up,
fried.
You were done. I can tell. Listen, if you got that much to do, you done. And people have got to understand. People on this network are not just sitting and talking to you and giving you information and interviewing those around you, but they are active as well. And I can't wait because, honestly, I want to do my own big event at one point. No, I don't want to do it during COVID. No, I don't want to do no. We're going to be on the screen and we're going to have screw that. You want to meet these people. You want to be around
Yeah.
them. So I would want to do a conference with the conspiracy side. Oh, hold on. I'm doing that for Halloween, ain't I? I'm doing the conspiracy, government, and UFOs,
Yeah.
and oh my God. Oh yeah, that's Thursday. Yeah, I can't forget that.
That's
You ready for it, aren't you? You ready,
that
aren't you?
is Thursday the 29th.
You know what time it is.
And it's me
Yeah.
and Sonny
Yes.
Irvin and Kathleen Fitzgerald
Kathleen.
working together on a 6-hour extravaganza. And we are talking about
Everything.
CIA projects.
Uh-oh.
Scarier because they're real.
Well, hold on. Well, what if some special people come in? Like, let me throw a name out for you. Laura Eisenhower.
She'd be fine to come.
Well, she's coming because she knows something. She's been dying to get onto. She's part of the network too. She wants to get down with the sickness, and she's like, "I'll be there." And guess what? She's been doing her research. You'll see next week. I ain't gonna say nothing to you. Next week you'll see. When you do your show, you'll see. How'd I do it? You'll see.
I made a chat room for the three of us hosts, so we're comparing notes so that we get things covered. So anybody else that wants to join the party is welcome.
The party is going to go wild. And guess what? It's going to be an event. And I want everybody to understand, this network, we're not asking you for jack. We're having a party. You know why? I gotta say something. Halloween is one of the most special days of the year for me. Forget Christmas. I mean, I like Christmas. Forget it. It's too commercialized now. It's not like haven't you noticed Christmas is not the way we grew up?
Oh no.
It's-
When I was growing up back in the 1960s, you had a tree that the parents went and cut it in the forest.
Oh, we had fun doing that.
We used to drive up into the mountains to get a tree, and we'd put this thing in a coffee can of water.
Yep. You know it.
And decorate it with the decorations that the family has had for decades. And my dad had the electric lights all set in blue because he thought it looked cool that way.
Yeah.
And Mama would make the presents, and you got one decent present, and the rest of everything was clothes.
Oh yeah, you had to have clothes. I mean, people don't realize that I grew up, Penny grew up, most of the people that listen to the network grew up, and the young folks out there, you missed a great life. I mean, you may say it was hard. So get that water off your back, okay? Get that yellow off your back. We had it hard, yeah. That made us the people we are today. But on the other side, we got the memories. No, hold on. I woke up in the morning and Mommy, I found in the tree a computer. No. I woke up and I found board games. Something to make you think. I mean, look at Penny. How do you think a woman like her, more cognitive than most people are out there, I'll be honest with you, keep everything straight? She was just sick. And now look at her now, with no voice, and look at her now. It's not because she's any different than us or anyone else out there. It's because we learned to push through.
Yeah.
Persevere.
You learn to push through, and you'll find if you can get through that first one, you'll get a second win.
Mm-hmm.
And what a lot of folks don't know is if you push through that,
Good God.
you get a third and fourth win. Farm people know this.
Yes. I love it. You're making me want to run again.
Yeah. And farm people know this because you got up before sunrise. I grew up on a dairy, so we were dealing with animals that had to be fed, had to be milked, had to be taken care of, because if they went without a milking, they went dry and the whole thing fell apart.
Yep.
You had no product to sell. The animals came first. They all got fed and watered and taken care of before we ate anything.
That's
We
right.
started off, you'd crawl out of bed, you'd be handed a cup of coffee, and if you were a kid, that coffee was half milk. And you drank your cup and you got warmed up and you went outside and you did your assigned chores and you came back in, and usually mama had breakfast ready by the time you came back.
Hold on. Did you say the word chores? Hold on. I'm getting scared. These kids today don't remember what the word chores mean. Well, you look in a damn dictionary. They don't know what it is.
Chores are, they are things that have to be done, and they were assigned based on your age and abilities. And they were things that made you a part of the family rather than a leech.
Oh. Penny, don't say that word. Oh my God, they about to riot. I see them out there. They crying. They crying. They want Uncle Joe, Penny. They want Uncle Joe Biden. They said Joe don't care if you're a leech. Hold on, you know the thing, Penny. The Declaration of Independence. Hold on, I remember it. Olsen, can you see? Oh, wrong story. You know the thing. I'm sorry, people. I laugh at the youth because they don't know life. It's
They
been
don't know
handed to them.
anything about how things really were because they've been lied to at school, and their parents are too busy making a living to be able to tell them any different.
And to make it worse, I mean, if you have constant indoctrination and you don't break free, you got to break free. It's like the chicken inside the egg. It's got to break free from the egg. If you still got mommy wrapped around you, if you still got daddy, this is my baby, or grandma ideology, you know, the titty in the mouth still running around. You still got the titty in the mouth because the child's 29 years old, titty in the mouth. The child's 50 years old, titty still in the damn. Why don't you let that child grow up? Hold on, that's a grown ass motherfucker. 30 years old, 40 years old, grown ass motherfucker still standing.
In my day, you were considered grown ass at 16.
You're 100% correct. I give it to you, because when I was 16, I was expected to act and perform. I mean, these kids today, they're scared of everything. I mean, you know something, Penny? Do you have a guest next week? I want to do a show. Daggone it, because I want to do a show on life. Maybe you know something. I might have to invite you on my show and get some of the old schoolers that they're on the network on my show, and we could talk about life and growing up. I mean, it's kind of scary.
Okay. Yeah, I've got Veronica Bartonelli.
Ooh, no, you don't.
Next week, and I've been talking with one of those Gaia people about Halloween itself, and he hasn't confirmed yet, so I can't give his name.
Well, he needs to hurry up and confirm, Penny. Oh shoot, we're running short.
It's time. We need to let goddesses and devils have the network.
Okay, and you know, gods and devils are coming up next. Penny, give us our goodbye and tell everybody you're not mad at them, you love them, but guess what? They need to realize that the truth is here with you.
I'm not mad at anybody. I'm just disgusted with what our culture's doing. Y'all have a good evening.
We can all talk about this on my show because I got to do this show. God bless you all. Send us out with a goodbye.
Goodbye.